Eminem was the one rapper nobody wanted problems with. Not even Will Smith. So when Will marched up on that Oscar stage in 2022 and smacked Chris Rock across the face, the world gasped. But the real ones, they had one burning question. Would he have pulled that same move on Eminem? Because, believe it or not, back in the early 2000s, it almost went down between them. And what came next? Let's just say Will probably wishes it never happened. See, Eminem wasn't just some loudmouth white rapper. He came straight out of Detroit's griest streets. Cold winters, colder beefs. This man stared Suge Knight in the face, and lived 2 spit bars about it. That alone puts him in rare company. But it gets juicier. Before the slap, before the chaos, before anyone ever imagined Will Smith losing his cool on live TV, he was untouchable. We're talking late 90s. Bill Clinton's in office. MTV rules the airwaves. And Will Smith, he's the king of pop culture. He wasn't just the funny, lovable Fresh Prince from Bel. He had leveled up to full-on box office legend. With smash hits like Men in Black and Independence Day, Will was everywhere. And here's the wild part. He did it all while keeping it squeaky clean. No profanity, no scandal, no headlines. Yet, he still went multi-platinum and collected Grammys like candy. His 1997 solo debut proved it. Will was winning without even cussing. Big Willie style didn't just sell, it exploded. Over 10 million copies flew off shelves around the world. Then came Willennium in '99. Another chart-smashing monster that brought Will yet another Grammy by early 2000. At this point, he was living proof that rap didn't have to be gritty, violent, or raw to win big, and he knew it. So, when he stepped up at the 42nd Annual Grammy Awards in February 2000 and proudly declared, "I've never used profanity in my records. Rap doesn't need to be filled with curses to succeed," the crowd clapped it up. But not everybody was cheering because miles away in Detroit, a storm was bubbling and it was getting loud. That same year, a 26-year-old Marshall Mathers, aka Eminem, had just unleashed the Slim Shady LP, and it was madness. Blood-soaked lyrics, twisted punchlines, drug-fooled chaos, and raw storytelling. It was unlike anything the mainstream had ever seen. This wasn't some soft act trying to be edgy. And this definitely wasn't Vanilla Ice. Nah. This was Slim, Shady, a dark, unfiltered alter ego straight out of the gutter, raised by struggle, pain, and rage. Eminem was everything Will Smith wasn't. Wild, uncensored, unpredictable, and too real for the industry to ignore. So, when he heard Will's no cursing speech, that didn't sit right to M. It wasn't just a random comment. It felt like a diss, a slick jab aimed at artists like him. The ones who weren't born into sitcoms or Hollywood lights, the ones who had to scream through the pain just to be heard, the ones who didn't have million-dollar safety nets or shiny blockbuster deals. So later that year, when Eminem dropped the real Slim Shady, he came out swinging right in the middle of the track and over a beat that still slaps to this day. He fired shots. Will Smith don't gotta cuss in his raps to sell records. Well, I do. So, F for him and you too. It was wild. It was raw. It was personal. And just like that, the line lit up the whole industry. Boom. Radio stations tried to mute it. Parent groups were outraged. But the youth, they loved it. Teens across the country had every word memorized. They were shouting those lines on playgrounds and school halls, anywhere they could. That bar from Eminem wasn't just some lyrical shot, it was war. A straight-up attack on the polished PG-13 version of rap that Will Smith stood for, and the message was loud and clear. I ain't here to play nice. But what most people didn't know, this went way deeper than just cursing in a verse. Eminem's shot at Will wasn't just about language, it was about power, it was about respect. It was about who really deserved the throne in the hip-hop game during the 2000s. While Will was flying first class to red carpets and Hollywood sets, Eminem was out here battling real demons. He was facing lawsuits, addiction, constant censorship, even death threats. This wasn't just music for him, it was survival. Will wanted to be loved. He wanted to be feared or at the very least respected. He didn't care about golden trophies or mainstream approval. He wanted people to listen, to know he was the real deal. That line in the real Slim Shady, it flipped the industry upside down and suddenly people started whispering. The question was Will Smith actually scared of Eminem? Even more chilling. What would happen if they ever came face to face? To most of Hollywood, Eminem looked like a loud, reckless white boy with bleach blonde hair and a mic. Just another shock value rapper who'd vanish in a year. Will Smith, he saw the same thing. Or so people thought. But behind the scenes, that truth was way more dangerous. Because by 1999, Eminem's rise wasn't just about catchy beats or wild bars. It was powered by real street ties, deep Detroit alliances that nobody in Hollywood could fully grasp. Eminem didn't rise alone. Right by his side was Deshaun "Proof" Holton. And this wasn't just some buddy from back in the day. Proof was a pillar in Detroit's East Side hip-hop scene. a respected battle rap beast and the leader of D12. A crew known not just for bars, but for having real street credentials. Proof wasn't just on stage to hype him up. He was the shield, the eyes, the voice of reason. He was M's personal security in places where one wrong look or the wrong skin tone could get you hurt or worse. In a city where danger was always one wrong turn away, Proof made sure Eminem walked in and out untouched. He wasn't just protection, he was validation. But Eminem's reach wasn't locked to Detroit for long. In 1998, everything changed when Dr. Dre signed him to Aftermath Entertainment. That move didn't just break the mold, it shifted the entire balance of hip-hop. Dre, already a legend thanks to NWA and Death Row, had just linked up with his newest weapon, with Dre's beats, his industry muscle, and business empire behind him. Eminem went from local shockwave to full-in national earthquake, and Will Smith, he had no clue that under all that wild energy and blonde hair, M was quietly becoming one of the most protected and connected names in the game. By 2000, Eminem wasn't just rhyming about chaos, he was living it. That same summer, he got arrested for pistol whipping a man outside Hot Rock Sports Bar in Warren, Michigan. That wasn't just rap drama, it was real-life heat that landed him on probation. This wasn't just about records or bars anymore. M was moving through actual beef in the studio and on the street. Then came 2002 and the circle expanded. That's when a hungry mixtape warrior out of Queens, New York, stepped into the picture. Curtis, 50 Cent Jackson. He got signed under a power deal between Eminem's Shady Records and Dr. Dre's Aftermath. And that's when the game flipped again. By the time 50 Cent stepped into the picture, he had already cheated death. 9 bullets had torn through his body. He'd been dropped by Columbia Records, blacklisted by half the industry. People said he was too reckless, too dangerous to touch. But Eminem, he didn't care. He saw the fire and brought him in anyway. With Dr. Dre's cash and Intercope's power behind them, they built a machine. Gonna add that to Shady Records and Aftermath, and suddenly a triangle of pure dominance formed. This wasn't just music, pure dominance formed. This wasn't just music. It was a movement, a force, strong enough to end careers, start wars, or defend its own without hesitation. So when Eminem embarked on a track, he wasn't standing alone. Behind every word were titans. Dr. Dre, 50 Cent, Proof, D12. Jimmy Iovine, and an army of lawyers, street soldiers, and behind-scenes tacticians ready to move if things popped off. But EMS's biggest test? It didn't come on a beat. It came from the shadows, and it had a name, Suge Knight. Suge wasn't just any exec. He was the co-founder of Death Row Records, a feared figure tied to the Bloods and known across the industry as a ruthless enforcer. In the early 2000s, his presence still haunted West Coast rap. Artists shook when his name came up. Executives walked on eggshells. But M, he didn't flinch. According to Compton rapper The Game, there was a moment that said it all. Suge Knight and his crew rolled in unannounced. Lights dimmed. The air turned heavy. Most people froze. Others quietly slipped out, but not Eminem. He stood tall, staring Suge down, fists clenched, ready for whatever, and 50. Still raw from the streets, backed him up with no hesitation. That face-off was bigger than music. Suge had ruled through fear for years, but here stood a white rapper from Detroit who didn't just rap about violence. He was ready to throw down if it came to it. Eminem didn't just talk tough. He had the mindset and the backup to match it. Most fans thought his security team was just your average crew of bodyguards, suits hired to keep things under control at shows. But if you knew what was really going on behind scenes, the truth was a whole lot wilder. According to folks with ties to the streets, Eminem wasn't rolling with just any protection. He had the backing of Samoan gangs in Los Angeles. These weren't hired security guards. These were known street enforcers, hard-hitting, non-nonsense fighters who had earned their name in the trenches of South Central. Loyalty and strength ran deep in that circle. Some even called them the Samoan Army, and they had a rep going all the way back to the 9 South. There were even whispers that M was being used at times. Yeah, maybe he was paying them off, someone close said. And yeah, it kind of looked like bullying. But either way, one thing was clear. These weren't people you crossed. Meanwhile, Will Smith, he was living a whole different life. By 2001, he was deep into Hollywood, hosting award shows, SCH, smoozing with diplomats, snapping photos with presidents. His image was squeaky clean. His brand was all about smiles and suits, not alley fights and lyrical warfare. Will wasn't built for street beefs. His power came through agents, publicists, and blockbuster budgets. So when Eminem took that shot at him on a track, Will didn't clap back. He stayed silent. And honestly, that might have been the smartest move. Because by then, going up against Eminem wasn't just battling one man. It was going up against a full machine. Dre's quiet but cutthroat strategies proof. Street smarts, 50 Cent's rising empire. M had a whole force behind him. Will Smith might have been America's golden boy, But in the rap game, that didn't mean much. To most people watching the Grammys, Will's clean speech seemed innocent. Just another polished celeb promoting positivity. But in the rap world, that one moment lit a fuse under a much bigger fire. The media praised him. Parents clapped. Headlines called Will Smith a role model. But behind the scenes, the pressure was rising and Eminem was not smiling. According to insiders from Interscope and Aftermath, M didn't take Will's Grammy speech as some innocent comment about clean music. Nah, he saw it as a direct shot. It wasn't just about cursing, it was about control. This was the quiet war between two completely different worlds of hip-hop. One polished and packaged for primetime TV, the other built from pain, chaos, and the streets. And in Eminem's eyes, Will Smith wasn't just speaking for himself. He was the voice of Hollywood's gatekeepers. The big executives, the award show producers, late-night hosts, label heads who never wanted someone like Eminem sitting at their table. They wanted safe, clean, family-friendly artists. Not a bleach blonde wild card rapping about trauma, drugs, and broken homes. By mid-2000, Eminem felt the heat getting worse. He was blowing up globally, but also getting boxed in. His lyrics were under a microscope. FCC regulators were dissecting his bars. Parental groups were protesting, and his videos were getting chopped to pieces before airing. He couldn't even perform uncensored on some late-night shows. On top of that, lawsuits were flying in from his mom, his ex, and even random people claiming to be offended by his music. M felt cornered, like every move was being watched. So, when Will Smith got up there at the Grammys and delivered that no profanity line, M didn't see a friendly message. He saw a setup. In his mind, Will had been picked by the industry. A safe, clean-cut star to take a polite swing at him, a smiling face used as the industry's hitman, the smiling assassin. And Eminem clapped back the only way he knew how. Through music. Just 3 months later, in May 2000, he dropped The Real Slim Shady, a wild, sarcastic, no-holds-barred anthem off the Marshall Mathers LP produced by Dr. Dre. And in the middle of the chaos, he spit that infamous line, "Will Smith don't gotta cuss in his raps to sell records." Well, I do. So of him, and _you, too. No metaphors, no sneak disses, just raw heat. The line shook the industry. Kids were blasting it in classrooms, stores couldn't keep the album on shelves, and radio scrambled to censor it by June 2000. The Real Slim Shady had shot up to number 1 on the UK singles chart, and just like that, Eminem had officially taken over. The Real Slim Shady wasn't just a hit, it was a takeover. It peaked at number 15 on the Billboard Hot 100, and MTV had the video on heavy rotation. Everywhere you turned, Eminem was there, loud, wild, and unstoppable. And the target of his lyrical heat? There was no doubt Will Smith. Meanwhile, Will's album Millennium, released just 6 months earlier in November '99, was already slipping off the charts. Even with decent numbers and the flashy single Will 2K, it couldn't come close to matching Eminem's grip on the culture. Then the whisper started. Industry insiders say that not long after EM's disc dropped, there was a private meeting behind closed doors, Kai at either Sony Music or Columbia Pictures. The message? Will Smith was told to stand down. No clapbacks, no diss tracks, no media responses, just silence. And one name kept coming up in the rumors, Dr. Dre. Some claimed Dre, who still kept good relationships with Hollywood execs and had even worked with Will's collaborators, personally made a call. The warning, let it go. Some say it was delivered with respect. Others say it came with pressure. Whether that meeting ever happened or not, one thing's for sure. Will Smith never said another word about Eminem, not in a lyric, not in a casual interview, not even a passing joke. He shifted focus entirely to film. In 2001, he dropped into Alley, then came Men in Black 2 in 2002, and Bad Boys 2 in 2003. His music career faded quietly into the background. It became the side hustle. Meanwhile, Eminem dropped the Marshall Mathers LP in May 2000, and it exploded. He sold 1.76 million copies in just 1 week, a record-breaking number that stayed untouched for over a decade. But even though the shots had stopped on record behind the scenes, the tension never really left. At events like the BET Awards, the MTV Movie Awards, and Grammy parties, both men were sometimes in the same room, but they never interacted. No handshakes, no small talk, not even a glance. Eminem, usually flanked by Proof or 50 Cent, stayed locked in his own lane. And Will, he kept his distance like the wound had never fully closed. Will Smith, usually surrounded by publicists, family, and tight schedules, played it safe. Insiders say award show organizers had to stagger arrivals or seat him and Eminem in different sections just to avoid any heat, because by then it wasn't just about star power, yet the balance had shifted. Sure, Will was still the crowd-pleasing favorite, polished, smiling, Hollywood's golden boy. But Eminem, he had morphed into something much bigger. By 2002, M wasn't just a rapper anymore. He was becoming Hollywood adjacent. His film 8 Mile was in the works. Studios were circling him. And behind him, he had Dr. Dre, Jimmy Iovine, and a rapidly rising 50 Cent. This wasn't a man fighting to survive, and this was a man shaping the industry on his own terms. Will, ever the strategist, understood the stakes. He wasn't about to throw hands in a war where he couldn't control the outcome. So, the feud, it went cold. No headlines, no interviews, just silence. But real ones, no silence doesn't mean peace. It just means the tension went underground. While fans moved on and assumed the drama had faded, those close to the industry knew better. That tension didn't disappear, it just waited. Because in Hollywood, beef doesn't always end with a diss track. Sometimes it lies low until the timing's right, and while Eminem kept getting called a wild card by the media, behind the curtain, he was moving like a general, quiet, calculated, always protected. By the early 2000s, people started to realize Eminem wasn't just rapping about the streets. He was prepared for whatever came with it. Then came the whispers. In 2003, word started to spread that certain _affiliated sets in South Central LA expected Eminem to check in before performing or filming in their territory. And in street culture, that's not a friendly heads up. That's a sign of power, a way of saying you move through here. You show respect or else. Most artists, they either avoid that heat entirely or send someone to smooth things over. But with M, that situation, it was about to get complicated. Nobody knows exactly what went down. The full details were kept tight, but insiders agree. A few serious phone calls were made. Lines were buzzing, tensions were up. And still, Eminem didn't back down. He pulled up anyway on Fully Protected. And not just by your average security team in black suits. According to sources tied to Aftermath Entertainment, EMS Real Defense in LA didn't come from hired bodyguards. It came from inside Dr. Dre's circle. Dre had long been rumored to have ties to a tough Samoan set. The same crew that once guarded Death Row Records during the chaos of the Suge Knight era, these weren't just muscle. These were men who knew violence firsthand and knew how to neutralize it before it even started. Their loyalty to Dre ran deep. And since Eminem was Dre's most valuable asset, that protection extended right to him. But M wasn't just leaning on Dre's reach. Back in Detroit, he had Proof. His best friend and the frontman of D12 holding things down. Proof wasn't just spitting rhymes. He was the guy who handled threats, kept sketchy folks out of the mix, and made sure no one got too close to Eminem without clearance. If there was static in the 313 Proof, was the wall between talk and trouble. Out in New York, Eminem had 50 Cent. By the time Get Rich or Die Trying dropped in 2003, 50 was already a name the streets respected. With him came Gun It, a crew from Southside Queens who had survived shootouts, label politics, and betrayal. They weren't industry tough, they were real tough. Together, they built something bigger, a coast-to-coast alliance under the shady Aftermath umbrella. And insiders say M did more than just feature on songs. He funded parts of 50's early grind. From tour security to street promo teams, Eminem backed it quietly but fully. Nothing official was ever put on paper. But in a 2003 Hot 97 interview, 50 made it crystal clear. Eminem believed in me when nobody else did. He didn't just rap with me, he protected me. Eminem stopped rolling solo after that. Whether it was an award show in LA, a party in Miami, or press stops in Chicago, he moved with layers of protection. From high-paid security to street-savvy allies, every step was locked in. Because by then, Eminem wasn't just a rapper, he was a target, and he knew it. Eminem had watched what happened to Tupac, how fame mixed with street heat could turn deadly if you didn't move right. He saw rappers fall trying to juggle platinum records and real-life beefs without a solid system around them. So he did it. He turned his label into a fortress. And in 2004, during a show in LA, a known West Coast gang reportedly made their way backstage. No one knew if they came to test him or just flex. But what happened next spoke volumes. Witnesses say they walked out without a word. Met not only by traditional security, but by Dre's Samoan team and Detroit enforcers flown in just for the night. Eminem wasn't just some artist with hot bars. He was protected strategically. From Detroit to Queens to Los Angeles, he had built real connections in America's 3 hardest hip-hop zones. This wasn't just about making noise, it was about survival. He moved like someone expecting war at any moment. And if you listen closely, his music was packed with clues. Tracks like White America, Till I Collapse, and like Toy Soldiers weren't just lyrical shock. They were full of metaphors about betrayal, being watched, and what it really cost to lead a movement people want to destroy. The paranoia in his songs, it wasn't for show, it was real life. Will Smith, with his team of agents, publicists, and polish deals, had likely never moved through that kind of reality. But Eminem lived in it. He thrived in it. And by 2005, people were still asking, was Eminem just an extreme artist or something darker? Those who crossed him already knew. Rappers, labels, even certain street figures learned quick. Eminem wasn't just rapping about pulling up. He pulled up with backup you didn't even see coming, so why did Will Smith even speak on Eminem in the first place? Some say it was jealousy. Others believe it was pressure on Hollywood telling him to clean up hip-hop and protect the family-friendly image. But here's where it backfired. Eminem made him look old, out of touch software, and worse. He cracked the image wide open. That polished Hollywood smile exposed the fear behind it. At the Grammys, Eminem hit the stage wearing a Free Yo shirt, a loud message to the streets, not the suburbs. The internet exploded and the message was clear. Will Smith wasn't built for this kind of war, and people knew it. After that shocking slap on Chris Rock at the 2022 Oscars, social media erupted. Meme after meme popped up asking the same question: would Will Smith have slapped Eminem like that? And the answer? Highly unlikely. Even though Eminem's older now, the legend of his early 2000s energy still lingers. Wild, unpredictable, and flat-out dangerous. There were whispers in Detroit that Mons chased down a local DJ with a weapon for refusing to spin his track. No charges were filed. No proof ever surfaced. But the story stuck because back then, Eminem wasn't playing Slim Shady. He was Slim Shady, and after that one bar aimed at Will, the damage was done. Will's rap career never fully recovered. The albums that followed barely made a dent. The energy was gone, the edge missing. Meanwhile, Eminem dropped The Eminem Show, one of the biggest records of the entire decade. Platinum plaques, award nominations, chart domination. It was a massive win. Some fans believed Dr. Dre saw the Will Smith moment as a turning point and decided to push Eminem even harder. Nothing was ever confirmed, but everything from the rollout to the production level felt intentional, like M was on a mission to leave. No doubt. Insiders say Will eventually admitted to close friends that he underestimated Eminem and paid the price. And after the Oscar slap, some even claimed Will wasn't just reacting to one joke. He was unleashing 2 decades of bottled-up frustration on the wrong guy. Now, years later, both men hold their titles. Eminem is a Hall of Famer and Will Smith is an Oscar winner, but only one of them still trends for reasons he'd rather forget. All because back in 1999, he said the wrong thing about the wrong rapper. Eminem, he never needed to clap back twice. That one line in The Real Slim Shady was enough to bury the beef forever. Will never responded because deep down, even he knew. You don't go head-to-head with someone who's got nothing to lose. Eminem wasn't just a better rapper. He was the kind of man you in the next one. A rapper. He was the kind of man you in the next one. You didn't want to test in real life. Some beefs drag on for years. Others get settled in a track. But this one, it ended before it even began. Because with M, sometimes one line is all it takes to shut everything down. And that line, it didn't just hit Will Smith's career. It echoed through the culture. No back and forth, no clapbacks, just silence. A silence that still speaks volumes. For Will, that bar from The Real Slim Shady aged like a warning shot. One that might still be ringing in his ears to this day. That's the thing about Eminem. When he fires off, there's no coming back. If you're into stories like this, packed with raw celebrity tension and untold truth, don't forget to like, share, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss another drop. And make sure to click the next video on your screen. It's loaded with even more wild celebrity drama you won't believe. CIO in the next one.